Hey everybody, I'm Dan with Third Space Movement and welcome back to another movement remix. We're going to start standing today. Just get that body nice and warm and loose a little bit. So here we go. We're going to start at the neck. We're just going to do a couple nice little neck circles. Dipping that chin, letting the ear fall to the side. Feeling that nice big stretch on the opposite side. And we'll reset back to the middle. From here, we're going to take both shoulders. We're going to start to turn them inwards. So turn your thumbs in towards yourself. We're going to pick the shoulders up towards the ears. Roll them back, slide them back down. So we'll try to smooth this out as much as we can. And we'll see if we can go the opposite way. And we'll relax. From here, we're going to take our right hand, we're going to go thumb up. We're just going to do a nice little shoulder circle all the way back. So this time the arms extended, and we're going to follow back through the opposite way again. So as I'm doing this, I'm trying to keep my ribs from flaring up or my back from arching. I'm trying to keep my arm close to my center line, not way out here. Pull it in as much as I can. And we'll go ahead and we'll switch to the opposite side. So again, we're going to go thumb up. Once I get stuck here, we're going to start to rotate at the shoulder as I start to extend behind. Good, we'll shake it out a little bit. From here, I'm gonna start nice and tall. I'm gonna tuck that chin, start to slowly round my shoulders forward. As I start to round all the way down. You have a soft little bend to the knees. I'm gonna hang out at the bottom for a second. When we start our way back up, we're gonna start at those hips. We're gonna start to tuck those hips under. Still hollowed out. Until I get to the top, my shoulders can come back, and the head comes back to neutral. We'll do one more. So I'm taking my time. And spend a couple extra seconds at the bottom. See if it feels good, just kind of move, sway side to side, relax the head and the neck. And as we start to engage, come back up, start to tuck those hips under. I'm going to roll myself back up. Awesome. From here, we're just going to go shoulder width apart with the feet and just get into a couple little circles with the hips. And we'll reverse. Same thing with those knees. And we'll reverse. And last, those ankles. So I'm just going to take one ankle. I'm going to start to trace a circle with my foot. Reverse that motion. And we'll replace that foot down on the ground. We'll switch to the opposite side. And reverse the circle. From here, we're going to take a kneeling position. So I can start with my feet flat on the floor if that's comfortable, and to the ankles. From here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my right leg, I'm going to step it out to my right side. I'm going to turn and pivot towards that direction as well. So from here, I can just keep that knee tracking towards the toes. I can sink into those hips for a second, and we're just going to alternate each side. So every time I do this, I'm going to come back to my seated position. I'm going to extend my hips up first, open up to the side, and back down. So as we come through, I can start to sink into those hips a little bit more. I can help by just making that little reaching motion, trying to reach out to the side, see if I can get that leaf just a little bit too far away. I might be able to get that one. Good, so we'll come back down just into our resting kneeling position. From here, we're going to do the same motion. This time when I get up into my kneeling lunge, I'm going to take that same side hand of the knee that's up. It's going to extend up towards the ceiling, and I'm just going to hinge at the hips. So I like to think I'm going to reach out to the side, and my hip is going to move away from my hand at the same time. So my hip's moving out to the side, that gets me close to the ground. Hinge back up. Opposite side. So for now, I'm just reaching down to the ground, planting the hand, thinking of stacking those shoulders, coming back. So it's as far as you need to go down. Last one. Perfect. So from here, we're just going to come into our low squat position. We're going to brace the elbows to the inside of the thighs, and then just hang up for a couple seconds down here, seeing if I can relax into those hips a little bit. I'm still going to focus on keeping that chest up from collapsing. I can use a little bit of this prying action with the elbows to keep those knees from collapsing inwards, and we just want to make sure that those heels are staying down on the ground. If that feels pretty good, I can start to just shift side to side, working those ankles out a little bit too. Okay. We'll come back down to our kneeling position. From here, what I'm going to do is transition from this kneeling position into my squat position. So I can use my hands if I need to, tuck those back toes underneath so I can rock the hips back. So from this position, we're going to keep walking the hands backwards. Once I get into a position where I have about a 90-degree angle with those knees, I can drive those hips up, walk myself forward, boom. We're going to walk forward into the plank, and as I come back down, reset. If that's fairly comfortable, I can see if I can just use that shift back to get into my squat. Hip. Plank. Reset. Last one. So should be feeling pretty warm, pretty comfortable down here by now, I hope. We're going to introduce a little bit of a new movement here called the quad hop. We're going to start off with what's called a quad press first, and hopefully have a little bit of fun with it. While we're doing this, I want you to think about kind of being like a little bit of a spring. So it's not a purely strength movement. I want to think about kind of absorbing some force and being able to redirect it. So our first movement with this is just going to be coming into our tabletop position, into our crawl, and I'm just going to get used to sending my hips back and forward again. So I can come forward a little bit to warm up those wrists a little bit more, so the shoulders can come a little bit past the hands. And then I'm just going to rock my butt back towards my heels. So you notice here that I let the knees slightly flare out to the side so they're not right underneath me. Just gives me a little bit of room to get my hips back there. So now I kind of already have that little springy action with that lower body. What I'm going to start to focus now is that springiness in my arms and the upper body. So just like I was doing with the knees when I was rocking back, now I'm going to stay right from my tabletop position. I'm going to keep my shoulders over top of my hands, and we're just going to work ourselves down to the ground and back up. So as that gets more comfortable, I'm going to see if I can get a little bit of a rhythm, almost like a little bit of a bounce. I'm not holding myself down, pulling, pushing myself back up. I'm just going to think that nice, light little spring action. So we'll take a little break. You'll definitely start to feel that in the legs and the shoulders pretty quickly. So if that feels pretty good, we're going to keep playing with that idea of being light. So my quad press can start turning into a little bit of a hop. So I'm always going to start at that press first, and then start to add a little bit of that bounce, a little bit of that hop to it. You'll notice that when I'm landing, I'm using that little springy action to absorb and then redirect. I'm not trying to catch myself and then lower. So let's try that again. We'll start off with just that little quad press movement. That feels pretty good. Start to see if we can get a little bit of air time with that. So let's see if we can do what we were doing before, using that as a transition back into our squat position. So the movement's going to look like this. I'm going to be into my quad hop, and I have a couple options. I can hop and get my feet nice and close to my hands again, here. But you'll notice that I've left my hands on the ground just to do a little bit of assistance to be able to get my feet back in that position. If I can though, what I'm going to try to do is do the full quad hop and then just land back into the squat. So both my hands and my feet are going to come off the ground at the same time. So you notice even when I'm transitioning from that squat position, I'm still trying to be nice and light as I hop back up into our quad hop. So what we'll do now is we'll see if we can link this quad hop into the squat to try to move ourselves across the mat a little bit. So each time I hop up into that squat, I'm going to see if I can just hop a couple more inches forward. So it's going to look like this. From here, we're going to crawl back. And we're going to add in a move we've been working before, our transition, or sometimes I just call it a sit out. So from here, we're going to do the same thing, coming forward from our sit out position. I'm going to take a little bit of a step forward each time with it. Reset. I'm going to give myself a little bit more of a runway. And we're going to do our second pass. So we're going to do 2 more like this. Quad hop to backwards crawl, and then our transition, our sit out, into that backwards crawl. And we're going to alternate between those. So here we go. Sit out. So even here when I transition through here, think about being nice and light. Sit out. Whew. And that's our short little quad hop and sit out sequence. It doesn't take very long to get the heart rate going. We might be able to do 2 rounds of that, do a couple minute break, 3 to 5 rounds. I don't know if I'd feel my quads anymore after that. Maybe that's a good thing. That being said, to finish off here, we're just going to get into a nice little stretch for those hip flexors. So we're just going to go into a nice little standard lunge position. We're going to make sure that that knee's right underneath the hip, and we have that 90 with the front leg as well. From here, I'm just going to sit nice and tall, keep those ribs tucked in, make sure that my hips are nice and level, nice and square to the front, and then we're just going to alternate a little contract with this back glute. It's going to tuck that hip underneath a little bit. Feel a nice little stretch into the front of the hip, maybe into that quad, and then relax. So do that a couple more times, holding that contraction for 2 or 3 seconds, and then relax. Last one on this side, we'll hold, or relax, and we'll switch. So again, looking for that 90-90 position. Nice and tall, keeping those ribs tucked in. Now it's starting to flare up, get into that back, and we'll just go through that little contract and relax sequence again. Breathing back. last one. 3, 2, 1, and we'll go ahead and relax. Awesome. So, thanks for joining me, everyone. That's your little movement remix for the week. Hopefully, I can join you next week for a little bit more fun. Till then, enjoy the week, the sunshine outside, and we'll see you soon.